Hi friends, my name is Jake. Welcome to Canadian Cutting Edge. Today we're taking a look at the Two Sun TS81, the G10 version. The G10 version is a liner lock knife with G10 handle scales in three different patterns. We've got this one that's called orange. It's orange and black. There is a black and white, and there is a green and black. It also comes, the TS81, in a frame lock version, actually two different frame lock versions, I think. There's a frame lock version with D2 steel, like this liner lock is, and there's a frame lock version with high-end steel, which is the steel. I think it's M390. It might be something else. I'll put it on the screen. And the frame lock version is, of course, pricier. This one is below $40 US. I think around 36, 37 US dollars. And then there is the frame lock version, which is around $79, $80. And then there's the frame lock version with the high-end blade steel, carbon fiber or bone inlay. And I think it's 120 US dollars roughly in that area. So there's a number of ways to get the TS81. What we have is a fairly large folding knife, not super large, but it's large enough. And it's got that classic kind of, shape to it. We've got just a slight drop point and a full flat grind and a deep carry pocket clip. So if you're interested, let's get this thing onto the tabletop and we'll take a close look and a full review at this knife. One of the first things we tend to do is a size comparison. We've got the Ontario rat right here. Line up the pivot points there. As you can see, this knife is larger than the Ontario Rat 1 knife. The handle's a little bit longer and the blade's longer. And the Ontario Rat 1 is, a good full-size knife. We've got milling across the handle scales, so there's a lot of good traction on this knife. And then on the spine of the blade, there are bumps all the way across. A lot of texture there, very bumpy. Backspacer, G10 backspacer here, and that sort of jimping goes 3/4 of the way up the knife and just not on that last little bit. And actually, I missed that. I wish there was some texture here, either some jimping on the blade or maybe a little bit on the end there. So when I have my thumb up here, I like it to have just a little bit of grip there, but not bad at all. The handle, of course, has got that curve in it, so it fits in the palm of the hand, sort of rounded over. We've got separate choil here for your index finger to fit in there very comfortably. Right or left hand, this knife's quite comfortable in hand. A little more comfortable in the right hand than the left. I find my middle finger, long finger, just being on this pocket clip right here a little bit when it's on the left side. But I can't move the pocket clip to the left side because there's no option for that. So that's one of the cons. I wish there was right and left options for the pocket clip. And it's a deep carry pocket clip. Let's demonstrate that. So it comes in and it steps over right away and it goes right on there. It just goes in. Not a problem at all. It does sort of catch a little bit actually when I have it here, but this is laying down flat, and when I'm wearing my pants and I'm putting the knife in my pocket, it tends to go all the way in each time. So there's that. The liners are fairly thick. I think I read that they said these are 420 stainless steel liners. They're stone washed. They're highly skeletonized. I think you can see some of the orange on this side right there. Let's get this to focus down here again. There we go. I've got a picture of the knife taken apart, actually that I got off of the internet. Instead of me taking this knife apart this time, let's show you what it looks like on the inside there. So yes, those were ceramic ball bearings, ceramic detent, lots of skeletonization, and it's just a well-functioning knife. The detent on this guy is maybe a little bit stronger than it needs to be, but that helps it have, you put on your pressure to flip the knife open, and when it goes with authority. You could make the detent a little bit softer if you wanted to. I've got a video on how to make detents harder and softer. So light switch method pulling back works, and if you're just pushing on a bit of an angle back, that works as well to make this blade come flying out, with either hand. Works just fine. So talking about the blade, you've got the triangle hole right here, and you've got an ever so slight drop here, a swedge almost all the way along the blade, full flat grind, and then you've got a belly on the entire length of the blade. So it's got a fairly fine tip. So I wouldn't be prying things with this, and it's not designed for that lateral kind of pressure on there, especially where it's thin. But you can do lots of delicate work up there, with a little grip like this. And you've got a long edge to do an awful lot of slicing. That's not really a forward choil, but you can use your finger up there if you want to. Just be a little careful that you don't poke the side of your finger on the end of that sharpener's choil. That's really nice. We've got a gentle plunge coming here, a rounded one, and then the edge. There's the Wong Design logo. It says D2 there, and Two Sun over here. I'm glad they've kept most of the logos fairly small. Let's take a look at everything, how it looks when, especially around the pivot. The lockup of it is very good for a new knife. The lock is fully engaged, but there's lots of room for that lock arm to wear across over time. There's no blade play side to side, up and down. When you close the knife, the alignment in here is pretty much perfect. The liners were so thick that they had to cut a little bit of a relief cut right there so that they could make this lock arm basically a spring so that it's pushing down that way. And as you can see, if you look at the end of the side grain, or the end grain, of the G10, we've got layers. That's how they made this orange and black layers. And that's how you got this kind of decorative effect when you've milled the curve across it with those lines in there. We've got T8 screws. They're recessed. And even T8 here on the pocket clip. And a T8 screw right here. It's a fixed pin, so it's not free spinning, so that's really good. I didn't mention before, there's just really fine jimping on the flipper tab there. That makes it... It just did the opposite of what I wanted to do, because I was looking at my LCD screen. I was looking up there, not down here. It flips very well, and these little jimps on here, the jimping does help quite a bit to make that work very well. I think the knife has got a good look to it. It really does. But that's a personal taste thing. You don't have to agree at all. Let's go over all the measurements and stuff. So while this Fat Max is on the screen, I'm talking specs. 128 grams, 4.5 ounces for this full-size knife. The sharpness from the factory measured 100 bests on my testing apparatus, that standardized apparatus. If you don't know what best means or anything, or what the measurement, how I do the factory edge, I've got a separate video that talks about how I measure the factory edge and how I measure what angle they use to make the final grinds on the cutting edge there. That video is linked down below. And now for the cutting edge length and the blade length, tip to the G10 and tip to the sharpener's choil is the same number, 9.87 centimeters, 3.88 inches. So almost a 4-inch blade. Yes, this is big. The blade thickness is 3.8 millimeters. That's 0.15 of an inch. So it's well over an eighth of an inch. The blade depth, I measured an inch up from the sharpener's choil, 2.49 centimeters. That's 0.98 of an inch. The thickness of the edge behind the grind right there, so where my thumbnail is catching over the blade, that is 0.45 millimeters. That's 17.5 thousandths of an inch, so that's very good. Nice and thin for slicing action. The grind angle. Now this is one of the best I've seen of any of my knives since I've been testing the grind angle or checking it. 20.0 degrees on this side, 20.7 degrees on that side. Very, very well done. Quite symmetrical. Better than the vast majority of what I've tested. Now for the handle length is 12.7 centimeters, 5.04. So basically 5 inches, just under 4 inches, so that makes the whole thing just under 9, as we'll see in a minute. The grip area in here, it's a little over 10 centimeters, just a little over 4 inches. That's sort of a variable number because everybody's grip is slightly different, but that's roughly how much space you have. The handle thickness, not counting the pocket clip, is 1.63 centimeters, 0.64 of an inch. Usually most knives are around half an inch, but this is a larger knife, and so you've got it a little bit thicker as well. The handle depth, that's this measurement. I didn't measure up here on the pivot point. Anywhere else along the blade, where's the largest? Right there. That is 2.25 centimeters. That's 0.888 of an inch. When the knife is closed, that's anywhere where is it the widest, not counting the protruding flipper tab. So the widest dimension this way, 2.97 centimeters, 1.17 inches. And then the total length of the knife from the very tip to the end of the handle, 22.5 centimeters, 8.86 inches. The balance point on this knife is right where you want it to be, right there. So that's the specs and information on this blade. I think I really, really like this. I find this quite comfortable. What are the cons on it? Well, I've mentioned one of them already. Pocket clip is right side only, so I'm not that fond of that. The other ones aren't really that big of cons. They're more preference kinds of things. I would like some jimping up here, as I mentioned before. And, you know, it is rounded here on these edges, but I find it just a little bit warm for extended use. I would like this G10 edge here rounded over just a bit more. The beauty of that is, especially on the belly here, is that it's easy to do. You just take some sandpaper and you sand it down. Wear a mask though, because the resin that's in here is really bad for your lungs, the dust. You don't want to breathe in the dust that gets created when you're sanding G10. Now the pros on here that I like so much, just the simple styling of it. I really like the look of this knife. It's, you know, big, so it's useful for just about anybody that wants to grab a knife. My hands are between large and extra large, and, you know, there's lots of extra knife to hang on to. You know, even reverse grips, if I want to grab it up here, it's, you know, people that have extra large sausage fingers, you know, this knife will still fit in your hands, I believe. But even people that have extra large hands, you know, one guy's extra large hands and the next guy's extra large aren't necessarily the same thing. So there you go. How much does this knife cost? It was below $40. I'll put the links for the knives down below the video. It's also on AliExpress for around $35, $36. Shipping from China. eBay, you can find these for around the same price as well. At White Mountain Knives, it's $37.99. Take off 10%. That's $34.31. And that's the lowest price I could find for this knife anywhere. But it's not in stock right now. If you go to the webpage for this, there's going to be a button that says Notify Me. You click on it, and Justin will email you when he gets them back in stock. Or you can just email him as well. On the White Mountain Knives website, there's a link to email him and ask him if he's going to be getting these, you know. To summarize, what do I think of this knife? I like it. I like it a lot. Maybe a bigger choil up here would make it more comfortable grabbing forward, but I don't really need it to. I like to grab it like this for the most part. Thing is, pull grips work really well with this knife. Very comfortable if I want to do that. I like that it's got a delicate tip, so if I need to do delicate work, that works. But it's a big, full flat ground slicer. You know, I might like it as a hollow grind, but then I'd want a different blade shape. For this blade shape, the full flat grind is perfect. And there's nice grip here. The only thing I might change is, I don't know if I like the green one better than the orange one. What do you think? Of the three colors that are made of this knife, of the G10 version, which one is your favorite? If you've got one of these knives, leave your comments down below what you think of it. And thank you for watching my videos. Thanks for sharing. This next week, I'm going to be very busy. I've got medical appointments on 4 different days, and they're all traveling appointments that I have to drive to the city. So I'm going to spend a lot of time in a car next week. I might not have much time to make mini videos. We'll see. But thankfully, my health still slowly is improving. So those that have been concerned for me, I appreciate your concern and your thoughts and your prayers. Thank you for watching, liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing. Remember, guys, always cut towards your chum, not your thumb. Bye for now.